What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Nerdy Mark channel. I am Sid the Nerdy Mark, and this is my review of AEW and NXT for this week. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and do what I did last week and just kind of take 5 minutes and go through each show and then kind of just talk about, what I liked and my favorite matches and then kind of go from there. So hope you guys are cool with that. If you want me to go back to just breaking down each match, I will, but frankly, this is a lot easier for me, and it honestly just helps me get this content out to you guys a lot quicker. But with that in mind, let's talk about our flagship shows that we watch every Wednesday, and we'll start, as we always do, with AEW Dynamite. We began AEW pretty hot, you know what I mean? And we had a TNT championship match between the champion Darby Allin taking on Joey Janela, who we haven't seen in a while. Of course, he's been doing a lot of stuff for GCW in the recent past, so obviously he was off of AEW television, but it's good to have him back. Pretty good match here. Darby has some really cool new paint, so that looked really nice. I think that Joey Janela, in my opinion, is a very underrated performer. And it's not just because, he's a heavy 80s influenced character, but I just think he has a lot of potential. Hey, Jim Cornette, how you doing? Eat shit. Anyway, but Janela at one point did counter a coffin drop and then followed it up with a thrust kick. That was really cool. But there was a good mat wrestling sequence. However, the match did end with Darby Allin hitting a huge coffin drop onto Joey Janela. But now, this is not the last we would see of Mr. Allin. We'll talk about him a little later. After this, we had Moxley cutting a really good promo ahead of the main event match, where he teams up with Lance Archer to take on Kenny Omega and Kenta. The IWGP US Championship makes its first appearance on AEW. That is crazy. I don't think this is going to be the last time we will see New Japan titles over here on AEW. Of course, we've seen the AAA title, which is fine, which is great, but a company like New Japan, their titles being advertised on a national platform like AEW, that is amazing. Backstage, we had a little segment with Sammy Guevara and MJF. Sammy Guevara basically is tired of MJF. He says that he accuses MJF of wanting to basically break up the inner circle, not to break them up, to take over the inner circle. And MJF kind of accuses Sammy and says that you hate Chris Jericho and you want to be the one who takes over the inner circle, which, of course, Sammy Guevara sarcastically repeats back to him. MJF has recorded all this on his phone, and, of course, this draws the ire of Sammy. He snatches MJF's phone, throws it against the wall, breaking it, and then punches MJF in the stomach ahead of the match between Jericho and MJF versus the Acclaimed, which we will get to later on as well. But we do have another tag match actually. We have Peter Avalon and Cesar Bononi taking on Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson. This was actually a pretty good match. There were chants of Caesar salad, which I thought was interesting. But it's a good showcase for both Lee Johnson and Cesar Bononi on AEW Dynamite, so that was really cool. Johnson has a fantastic sequence at the expense of Peter Avalon, and a beautiful corkscrew on Peter. That looked fantastic. And then he goes for the martinis. Peter does, it's like his double knees, but Johnson converts that into a roll-up to win his first match on AEW, and his first victory was on Dynamite. And afterwards, we have a promo with Lee Johnson. Cody's there, Dustin is there, as is QT Marshall. And Lee Johnson makes it a point to thank everyone for helping him except QT Marshall. And if you look if you look at QT throughout this whole promo, you see he has a very disapproving look. I don't know if that's going somewhere, but that's a little nuance that I saw. And I think that they're going to play up on it at some point. I'm guessing we're leading towards a QT Marshall heel turn. Dasha is interviewing the Young Bucks and the Good Bros ahead of next week, and the Bucks challenge Santana and Ortiz for a title match next week, so that should be good. Dasha once again interviews Hangman, who is interrupted by Matt Hardy. He takes Hangman to a bar, which he has completely paid off, which he is completely paid for, and Hangman has a very awkward kind of meetup, I guess, with the Dark Order. Kind of a very awkward confrontation. It was just interesting to see. I don't think this is over between the two of them. Up next, we have Pac taking on Ryan Nemeth, who I forgot to do the his debut match episode, but Ryan Nemeth, of course, brother of Dolph Ziggler. Nemeth is able to get a few shots in, but it's all Pac throughout the match, and he hits the Black Arrow Brutalizer combo to defeat Ryan Nemeth. So that's pretty much it. We then get to the aforementioned Chris Jericho and MJF versus the Acclaimed match. Before the match, MJF does rat out Sammy Guevara. He has taped ribs, and he's selling the ribs throughout the entire match. Max Caster's rap was actually pretty good this time. I actually really liked it. So it's a very competitive match despite all this. So both teams do try some chicanery to get one up over each other. MJF and Jericho do win after Jericho hits the Judas effect on Caster. Afterwards, Sammy Guevara comes in. Jericho's like, "You're here 5 minutes late." You break MJF's phone and punch him in the stomach. What's going on? Sammy basically says, "I'm done with the Inner Circle." And he leaves. And he leaves through the face tunnel, and then afterwards Alex Marvez catches up with him and he asks what's going on, and Sammy's like, "Look, I need some time away from this place." So it looks like Sammy's taking some time off of television. I'm guessing we're going to have the Inner Circle Civil War storyline play out like this. I guess obviously Sammy Guevara is a babyface now. He has to do something to cement his face turn. I'm guessing that's going to happen probably sometime after Revolution. That's probably what's going to happen. I would love to see that. Then we have, at the bar, Matt Hardy and Hangman are talking. They're both seemingly drunk. At least Hangman is seemingly really wasted. Matt Hardy slides a contract to Hangman, tells him that he should sign it because that will help him. He'll make him rich, even though he has to sign 30% of all his earnings over to Matt Hardy. And Hangman asks for a pen, which Matt Hardy gives, and he turns his face away and faces the camera to say, "We are documenting this. That's why I wanted you here." But while Matt Hardy's facing away, Hangman throws that paper away, pulls out another piece of paper, signs it. Matt Hardy signs that, and that's the end of that. So I'm really intrigued to see what happens with that going on. Then we have another match, Layla Hirsch taking on Thunder Rosa. This is the women's Eliminator title, the USA side. The Japan side is actually going to be airing on Monday on AEW's YouTube channel, and I will be live on Instagram doing live reactions for all of those matches, so stay tuned for that. We had more Thunderstruck chants for Thunder Rosa. Seriously, Tony Khan, just pay AC/DC and get the rights to that song. Just get on the phone, call up AC/DC, be like, "Yo, we need to use your song, Thunderstruck, for Thunder Rosa." That would be awesome. Anyway, but Rosa brings in a lot more aggression than usual. Obviously, she's still pissed off at Britt Baker. Hirsch and Rosa are just two of the best women on this brand. And I think, honestly, I keep saying this, but I think for everything I talk about with the women's division in AEW, matches like this makes them feel a lot more of a stacked women's division, which I'm still fine with. But, still, we need more women on AEW. But, of course, Thunder Rosa does advance. She wins this match, so I'm really looking forward to see where this goes. Tony Schiavone and Jungle Boy have an interview, and Jungle Boy cuts a promo on Dax, and he says that he will make him his bitch, so that's cool. It is time for our main event. We have Kenny Omega and Kenta taking on Lance Archer and Jon Moxley. This was a fantastic match. It is a Falls Count Anywhere match. First of all, the fact that the AEW is showcasing the IWGP US title is fantastic, and it's freaking crazy. But Kenta does start by using the briefcase as a weapon, his US Championship briefcase thing. But things between Kenny and Kenta do seem to be breaking down quickly because both of them want to murder Jon Moxley. So Kenta and Mox do have a great sequence in the ring. That was pretty cool. It's, I guess, a little palate cleanser. Well, not a palate cleanser, just to kind of whet your appetite for what's to come on February 26th at New Japan Strong. So that should be cool. But Kenny does a "you can't escape" thing with a trash can to Moxley, which looked crazy. Archer brings in a ladder and smashes Omega onto it. That was brutal. Pretty Peter Avalon becomes a casualty, courtesy of Kento, who gets hit with a GTS. Who hits a GTS on Avalon. That was pretty cool. Match then spills to the kitchen backstage. Potatoes are used as weapons. That was really cool. Kenny and Archer get in the ring, as do Kento and Mox. Kenny and Archer have a really good sequence in the ring. That was all great stuff. Good Brothers do come in, and Carl Anderson hits a gun stun on Lance Archer. All this is legal, of course. Jake the Snake Roberts gets physical. He hits a short arm clothesline onto Anderson, but Luke Gallows with a big right onto Mr. Snake. And Kenny Omega is about to hit a V-trigger, but Mox intercepts it with the barbed wire baseball bat. Kenta then comes in, hits a GTS on Moxley. Then the Good Brothers hit a Magic Killer on Lance Archer. Then they assist Kenny Omega on getting Lance Archer on his shoulders because Lance Archer is a big bitch, right? And One Winged Angel, 1, 2, 3. That's all she wrote, and that's how we end out AEW Dynamite. What a crazy main event. Really loved it. Cannot wait for Kenta versus Moxley at New Japan Strong, so that should be really cool. But this whole Bullet Club, Young Bucks, Elite story still is continuing to brew, and I really love it. But with that being said, let's move on to NXT. We begin NXT with a Dusty Cup Finals match. We have MSK taking on Legado del Fantasma. Very fast-paced match. MSK continue their innovative offense at the expense of Legado, but Mendoza and Wild do bring it to this relatively new team. However, MSK win with their finisher, which is aptly named MSK, to advance to the finals, which happens at TakeOver Vengeance Day this Sunday, on Valentine's Day, no less. That is NXT's Valentine's Day present to us. That's awesome. Thank you, NXT. But Mercedes Martinez, yeah, that's her name. Mercedes Martinez cuts a pretty intense promo on Io and Tony ahead of their match at TakeOver Vengeance Day. Tony and Io also cut promos later on, so I skipped ahead, but still, they also cut promos later on to promote their match. It was good stuff. All of it was good. Xia Li murders a jobber, my lovely bride. Then before the match, Kaden Carter and Casey Catanzaro came in, stating that they're worried about Xia Li, but Xia does try to wave them off. Kaden gets into the face of that mysterious figure, whatever his or her name is, and Xia Li murders Kaden Carter, then goes on to murder Casey Catanzaro. And she apologizes for Kaden, and then as does Boa, and then the mysterious figure force chokes Boa, and that's when Xia Li goes and murders Casey Catanzaro. So really interesting stuff happening with this whole Tian Sha thing. I don't know what's going on, but it was interesting. But backstage, we do have William Regal going into his office, where Scarlett is sitting there waiting for him, looking like she wants to do some things. Anyway, she wants a match for Karrion Kross versus Santos Escobar, which Regal books. So that was there. We'll talk about this later. Ahead of the women's Dusty Cup semifinals against Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart versus The Way, we do have a really entertaining segment with the Garganos and Austin Theory and Indy Hartwell. The Way Gargano has his arm in a sling and is also in a wheelchair. So it was like, he's like, oh, I can't walk because Kushida broke my arm. That was crazy. I mean, Johnny Gargano as a heel, he's kind of becoming more like Chris Jericho, in the sense like he has like these absurd kind of these kind of absurd views on things. So I think that's kind of cool. Like, just it's entertaining, but you also really hate him and you really want someone to just break his neck, which exactly what you're supposed to be doing. He's a heel and it's perfect for him. But anyway, he is carried into the ring by Austin Theory, which was really funny. He blames Kushida for his injury, says he can't defend his North American title against Kushida. William Regal comes in and he says, look, we all know you're faking it. Johnny Gargano shows an X-ray of his broken arm, which of course is the wrong X-ray, as Regal points out. He says, no, this is not your X-ray. I know it. So, because you have a cast on your left arm, but your right arm. But that's an X-ray for the right arm. Of course, he says there's two options you have. You can either have Austin Theory be a surrogate at TakeOver, or you can forfeit your title. But whatever you decide fast, because Kushida is waiting. Kushida has slipped into the ring. He punches Austin Theory. He's trying to snatch the North American title away from Johnny Gargano, but Johnny Gargano gets up and he raises his left arm despite being in a sling. And he's like, oh, you were faking the whole time. And then he punches Johnny Gargano into the chair. That was really cool. But this leads into our Women's Dusty Cup match, as I mentioned earlier. Good stuff here, really good stuff. A lot of animosity throughout this match between all four of these women. Good sequence of double teams across both teams, really like that. Ember hit an eclipse onto LeRae, but Indy gets on top of Candice to prevent her from getting from the impact of Shotzi's top rope move, which Indy eats, gets pinned for the Gargano, eats the loss for the Garganos, or the Way as they're called. Ember and Shotzi will meet Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai at TakeOver Vengeance Day to win the Dusty Cup the Women's Dusty Cup. William Regal actually announces that the winner of the Women's Dusty Cup tournament will have a future shot at the WWE Tag Team titles. Please, yes, just have one of these teams win the women's tag titles and bring it over to NXT. They'll be valued so much more there. Like, I would personally like Raquel and Dakota Kai to win this and go on to maybe WrestleMania to face off against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Honestly, that would be a cool way to tie up that story between Shayna and Dakota. I think that would be really cool. So hopefully that happens at some point. Thatcher and Ciampa then cut a grizzled old veteran promo on the grizzled young veterans, which was really cool. Their promos were really good, by the way. I really love it. Santos Escobar is interviewed backstage about his match against Karrion Kross. Legado come in and he tells them to handle Karrion Kross, basically. We'll see where this goes later on. Basically says he doesn't make it to next week. Dunn and Balor have a really good promo package. I enjoyed this. Then we have Austin Theory versus Kushida. Kushida's wrestling in his street clothes, which was really cool. Pretty competitive match that was there, but Gargano is still wearing his cast, but he's not in the wheelchair anymore. How miraculous. But anyway, but this match is in hopes to soften up Kushida for Gargano at TakeOver. And then he targets Theory's arm just to kind of send a message to Johnny. But Theory is still able to power through. He has a great showing, but Kushida has Theory in an armbar, but Johnny throws the match by super kicking Kushida, and he proceeds to beat him up, but Dexter Lumis comes out from under the ring and pulls Austin Theory under the ring. Gargano's spooked out. Kushida's in the ring. Gargano gets in the ring. They get into it. Austin Theory tries to help out Johnny, but obviously Dexter Lumis comes in, puts him in the silence. So Gargano is in the hoverboard lock and Austin Theory is in the silence. Kushida comes in and raises the North American title up above his head. Dexter Lumis looks at it, so it looks like Lumis wants that belt too. So that should be interesting to see where this dynamic goes. I think we're going to get, at some point, a triple threat between Gargano, Kushida, and Dexter Lumis. That should be a damn good match. But then we have backstage, Karrion Kross has destroyed Wilde and Mendoza, because that's what happens when you freaking mess with a demented machine like Karrion Kross. TikTok. Then we have a white Lamborghini pulling up, and out of which comes a much more dapper looking Cameron Grimes. That was pretty awesome. I like that. He basically comes in, he talks about his time away from NXT. He passes out money to everybody as he's entering the ring. He passes out money to the security to have him park his Lamborghini. He gets on the mic and he basically talks about, with the whole GameStop thing that happened a couple of weeks ago. He says he invested in stocks and he invested in Dogecoin. That was pretty cool. He invested in Bitcoin. Now he's like, I'm so rich and I made a lot of money now. And he tells everybody to kiss his grits, and he's richer than Elon Musk. So I'm wondering what when we're gonna get a car company from Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes throws all the money on the floor and makes like a money angel out of it. That was funny. I think that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to see where this character goes for Cameron Grimes. But then after that, we have our main event. We have the grizzled old veterans taking on the grizzled young veterans. I mean, Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa taking on grizzled young veterans. Really good match here. Gibson is about to cut a promo, but it's cut short by Thatcher and Ciampa. Fantastic stuff. Really brutal match. Thatcher and Ciampa do employ quick tags once the bell rings. These four men just have some really good chemistry, but ultimately they block a Willow's Bell attempt, and the Grizzled Young Veterans hit the ticket to mayhem on Ciampa to win, and now they'll face off against MSK at TakeOver Vengeance Day. That's going to be really good. NXT ends with all the competitors of TakeOver Vengeance Day having a face-off, with it finally ending with Dunn and Balor in the ring. Dunn does this, Balor does this, and that's how we end out NXT. So overall, I'm not going to lie. I think NXT did a great job building up for TakeOver Vengeance Day. But I'm going to say I enjoyed AEW a little bit more just because, like I said, the storylines progressing at a very good pace, and it's continuing to keep me intrigued. I am very excited to see where a lot of these things are going. You know, the whole Inner Circle storyline is looking really good. The Hangman, Matt Hardy, Dark Order story is looking really good. Even the whole abduction thing with Margot Stunt and FTR and everything, that's looking pretty interesting as well. So yeah, I mean, that's just amazing. So I'm going to say AEW was definitely the better show this week. But as far as matches, the main event on AEW was really good, as was Thunder Rosa versus Layla Hirsch. Joey Janela versus Darby Allin was a really good match too, the opener. So those are my favorite matches from AEW. As far as NXT, I'm going to definitely say MSK versus Legado del Fantasma, Ember Moon versus The Way. And the main event, Thatcher and Ciampa versus Grizzled Young Vets. All really good matches. So that pretty much concludes my review of AEW and NXT this week. Let me know what you guys thought about both shows in the comment section below. Also, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell so that you are notified every single time I upload. But with that, thank you so much for watching and telling your friends about the Nerdy Mark. Really appreciate it, as always. But with that being said, stay safe, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.